Welcome everybody to Mudflood was Armageddon. This is one of the this is the first video since I got banned for a week for a copyright strike for saying I was inciting violence when trying to give a truth on a recent video about QAnon and some of the reasons that people were waiting on the subpoenas to come down and what some of the people in Congress were accused of, and that was a little bit too much. And there is real no appeals for YouTube. They're censoring what they want. What that's the way it is right now. So I just wanted to go over some of the tabs I pulled up that I want to be studying. Just bear with me now, and we'll see what we have. Uh, I've been looking at this one here. What is the church's obligation to the poor? I think it's much more than most postmillennials do. History of the Federal Reserve. We can't get too far away from that. And most of these are recommendations from my big brother Randy. Been studying the Bible. Now, Putin gifts old maps. That also comes from something I was studying. Randy sent me a video about, the beginning of the Tartarian, and we both took away the same thing, that it was when Vladimir Putin back in 2013, 2014 was visiting other countries, he was giving out maps that showed Tartaria. Now, I know most people, some of the viewers might have been in high school at that time, but you have no idea what a shock it was for people my age to realize that a country like Tartaria has been hidden from history, and we didn't know anything about it. It wasn't in Wikipedia. Those things didn't exist. And that helped me because I was already, looking at, how recently history in World War II was changed. So I looked up, from the search, Putin gifts old maps, searched it, came up with this article: Putin declassified the Tartaria archives. The official history is false. Geography, hidden history, and Lemuria. Because the Russians and Putin, he's not a good guy. He's not like, oh, the good guy is Putin. They're all working for the mafias that run the world. This is the people who love Atlantis, and I don't trust Putin, but they want us to believe that he's the hero. Putin declassified the Tartaria archives. The official history is false. They open with a quote. At school, we are taught that before the advent of Christianity, we were all almost wild people. However, many facts contradict these fictions. For example, in the Encyclopedia Britannica 1771, the land of our ancestors, they must be speaking as Russian people, I broke in and said, and I continue. The land of our ancestors, as described, is the largest and most developed state, called the Great Tartarus. There are many documents and maps that support this. Some of them are in the Russian Geographical Society. These and other artifacts, such as the Chandar plate, testify to us that the level of development of the civilization of our ancestors was incomparably higher than what we learn as official history tries to convince us. This level is even higher than the current level of development of our civilization. And so it does continue, again, from the third volume of the Encyclopedia Britannica. Tartaria, a huge country in the northern part of Asia, bordering Siberia in the north and west, called the Great Tartary. Tartars living south of Muscovy and Siberia are called Astrakhan, Cherkasy, and Dagestan, living in the northwest of the Caspian Sea, called Karmak Tartar, and which now occupy the territory between Siberia and the Caspian Sea. Uzbek Tartars and Mongols who live north of Persia and India, and finally Tibetan, living to the northwest of China. How did the Great Tartarus disappear from the geographical maps of the 1700s? And why has the total falsification of world history become possible? The Moscow Kremlin website reports in 2017, Vladimir Putin met with former president of Tartarstan, now the state councillor of the Republic of Tartarstan, Minister Shemyev, to present him with a gift, the map of Tartarus made by the 1600s Dutch cartographer Wilhelm Blau. And then it gets into what is a Tartar. Describing the map, it says, on the gold frame map presented the territory of northeastern Eurasia from the Volga to the Caspian Sea, from the west to the Eastern Ocean belongs to Tartarus. At the same time, the countries of Siberia, Central Asia, and the Far East are shown to be under the control of the Great Inn. This in particular is reported by the TASS agency. The map also shows the border of Tartarus, the genealogy of the great Han temples of Chingiz, as well as Little Tartary, Great or Asian Tartarus, Tartaria, Desert Tartarus, Chetagatsky Ulus, Turkmenistan, the Kingdom of China, and Old Tartarus. According to the Encyclopedia Britannica of 1771, Tartaria was a huge country, a gigantic state that was plunged into darkness for centuries, or was it just a couple of decades? Tartaria, the huge country in northern Asia bordering Siberia in the north and west, called the Great Tartarus. The Tartars who lived in the south and Siberia are called Astrakhan. Didn't we just read that? Yeah, I think we did. Business Online asked its experts what such an unusual gift presented to Shemyev could mean and what it means. One of their chief researchers from the Institute of History of the Academy of Sciences of the Republic of Tartarstan, there are many such maps showing the Tartarus, Little Tartarus, and Great Tartarus until the 1700s. European cartographers used to use them. At school, we are taught that before the advent of Christianity, we were all wild people. However, many facts contradict this fiction. So does it repeat here? It does for a little bit. Why did they hide the plates? The past of the Aryan Slavs is the past of our earthly civilization. That's what they would have you believe. And for me, it's just a way to, forget the Bible, present Atlantis, and cause great divisions. Now, there's something I wanted to look up. What is the Chandar plate? We can do this live. It's only mentioned, that's the first article. Here's something. Putin, looks like it's that same article. The Chandar plate. The unique find of Alexander Cherkov. Mystery of the Chandar plate. 1995, professor at Bashkir State University and graduate student from China, Hong Hong. You know I'm not pronouncing everything right. Discovered hieroglyphic rock inscriptions. The graduate student, recognizing the signs of ancient Chinese letters, read several of them. Hieroglyphs. Started searching the archives. They came across reports of 200 stone slabs covered in hieroglyphs found in the foothills of the Urals. What if these are links in one chain? The researchers thought. They began to read more carefully. The report was dated to the late 1700s. Other documents dating back to the 1900s reported 6 such plates. They were seen by the expedition of archaeologists Schmidt in the Bashkir village of Chandar. So then it goes on to a description. Most amazing discoveries followed. What was initially considered to be simple patterns turned out to be a geographical map, a relief image of the area near the current city of Ufa, UFA, Ufa. The scale of the map is 1 to 110,000. Oops, and that's as much as they let us read there without closing something out. Scientists have come to the conclusion that it is only a small part of a large map of the world. The total number of such fragments would be 1 million, 1.25 million approximately. That's a lot. So there's a picture of it. Very interesting. Might be something you want to look into. I'm going to keep going. So, from stolen history, Tartary, here's a, Grand Tartary. A lot here on this. This is from stolenhistory.org. And you can find so much, and you might find these now in Wikipedia. There was nothing. People did not know about this, and we're not going to just stick to this part of it. But this was a shocking. It came out right about the time when Flat Earth was coming out. Now there's quite a big map. I wonder if that gets any bigger. No. It doesn't, but it's quite a impressive map, and it shows the United States. Looks like a Mercator projection. It says here the official history is hiding a major world power which existed as late as the 1800s. Tartary was a country with its own flag, own government, and its own place on the map. Well, I guess so. Here are some of the maps of Tartary. Yep. This is the United States. That's what it looks like to me. Oh, this says Trinidad, Florida, Hispania, Mexico, Caribbean. Amazing. Tartari, Tartara, Tartaria. Look how big Tartary is on that one. Big country. So, well documented maps, tons of articles. It used to just blow me away. Here's a genealogy of the emperors of Tartaria, people of Tartaria. Look like the people that described in the Bible. Flags. Some of those are cut out a little bit more here, but here's the multiple flags of the Emperor of Tartaries, the Tartary flag with the owl. China and Tartary have similar flags. Tartary was not China, is what it shows there. Was not Russia. Looks like Russia had a big deal with Napoleon. Something about the same metal here. There is a growing opinion in Russia that the French invasion of Russia played out according to a different scenario. The one where Tsar Alexander I and Napoleon were on the same side. Together they fought against Tartary, essentially France and St. Petersburg against Moscow, Tartary, and there is strong circumstantial evidence to support such a theory. St. Petersburg was called the capital of Russia, yet Napoleon chose to attack Moscow. Why? It appears in 1912 there was a totally different recollection of events of 1812. How else could you explain commemorative medals in 1912 honoring Napoleon? And specifically the one with Alexander I and Napoleon on the same medal. The below medal says something similar to strength is in the unity, will of God, firmness of royalty, love for homeland and people. All right. I have a hard time imagining the two guys below on the same medal of love and unity. Similarity between Russian and French uniforms. This is Russia's regular army on the top here. France's regular army. Very similar, I guess. And here's a picture of them just being all lovey-dovey. There's a picture of them looking at maps. There's a picture of them smooching. Alexander and Napoleon sitting in a tree. What's up with that? What's up with me? What's up with my collar here? I hope I'm not too unpresentable. Without, just making video not live and banned here. So there's look at this. There's an article on American Tartary here, looking at stolenhistory.org. The jury's still out on this one, but there are some indicators that Tartary was present on the North American continent as well. I've said that for years, and probably because, it might have been, had some people didn't like that. So there's more flags. Looks like they have a lot. There's some things on St. George. These are just comments, people adding it here. There's something from April 27, inside the Tartarian Empire, the QAnon of architecture. I'm not sure what that map is showing. Well, that looks like quite a picture right there. The Siberian army Cossacks storming a star fort. Rolling those cannons out, getting ready to storm the star fort. Well, we got to keep going here. Stolenhistory.org. I also was studying Jolly West. This doesn't have anything to do with Tartaria, but he was a psychiatrist in the public sphere. You need to study this guy. West's work on brainwashing, false confessions, LSD, was the friend of Charlton Heston, a conservative icon, but also was the last person that was the doctor for Jack Ruby, who killed JFK. Also was the last psychiatrist for Charles Manson. Just Korean War, brainwashing. Jolly West, Louis Jolyon West, called Jolly. You might want to put a pin in that name. I hope you go and get your notebook out. But Patty Hearst, Scientologist, studied Jolly West. I gotta get these things. I've had him up on here. He's from Denison, Ohio. Same place as the famous Donna Reed. Been looking with Randy, working hard on our creed. Got it, such a good creed. You should all. We've gone over it. We will go over it, but let's see. Daniel 8. One of them came out of the little horn, the great horn, the abomination of desolation. Going to save Daniel 8. Daniel 7:22, until the Ancient of Days came and judgment was given for the saints of the Most High, and the time came when the saints possessed the kingdom. We on the narrow road, studying Mudflood was Armageddon, have no reason to doubt that we are on the right track. And I'm going to be going over these scriptures. I'm keeping these up. Daniel 11 tying in the abomination of desolation. Daniel 11:31. His forces will rise up and desecrate the temple fortress. They will abolish the daily sacrifice and set up the abomination desolation. Come on. That's 70 AD. That is Mudflood was Armageddon. And that's the time of the end. We'll go over all of these words. On the ground, in the ground. What's the King James have to say? In the earth, of the earth. I'm going to wait for Randy when I get back live with him. Some of these things. Just going through the tabs I pulled up on the first few days I've been banned. Now, the gold, silver certificates, gold certificates, silver standard. We're going to go over that. But one thing that I have come to believe is that World War II was a simple bank robbery. They went and got the gold from all of those countries in Europe. And basically they confiscated all of the gold in the United States. It basically was something the mafia just took over. And then they made Germany pay again for it. Reparations for the war. It was a land swindle. I'm going to be going back over the Silver Purchase Act of 1934. Couldn't find much about it here. More Bible verses in Daniel 3:8. Uh, just so that you know, this was, they were about to get thrown into the fiery furnace. But if not, and that is, God is able to deliver us from the blazing fiery furnace, but even if he doesn't, be it known to you, O king, that we still will not serve your gods or worship the golden image. If God, they're just saying, if God wants us to be martyrs, we will be. But, our God could save us, but even if he doesn't, we're not worshiping any false gods. That seemed important to share. I'll share it again later. Luke 10:39. I was looking up words. That doesn't mean that for the fullness of time, what was full. Be interesting to know where came on to this verse. For the patch, yeah. The patch. The garment that pulls away the patch. It basically, it's the fullness of time too. The fullness of the Gentiles. The fulfilling of the law. And all it contains in the fullness, what belongs to the God in 1 Corinthians 10:26, everything. And it also was the patch. You don't patch a garment. So that's something else we got to go over. How to, God is a jealous God. He wants Israel to be provoked to jealousy, that the Gentiles would come in so that some of the Jews could be saved. Beside the road, among the Jews, beside, from, of, at the feet of Jesus. Wonder what I was studying here. Jealousy still. Another word for jealousy. Woman. Oh, his mother. Yeah, I was studying that John, and when the apostle the apostle John was like, "Here, you're going to take care of his mother," and and that his sister was there with him. Just that Jesus obviously had brothers and sisters. What's this? Searching that Silver Purchase Act of 1934, the Sherman Silver Purchase Act. We'll go over that when I'm proving that is basically, it was more, there was more of a silver standard than there ever was a gold standard. And the gold heist, the gold rush could have been World War II. Looking at Randy's emails. Geneva Libertines, going to be studying how that got affected with John Calvin and how he made a deal with the Geneva Libertines to kill Michael Servetus, who was what they said not Trinitarian, and found out that the word libertines, which basically was sexual free love people, is the root word of liberty, which is basically what the United States wants to become. Give me liberty or give them death. So we'll have time to go over that. Servetus and the Genevan Libertines. As I once was a defender of John Calvin and sought to excuse his share in the execution of Servetus, and I resorted also to the type of apologetics employed by Catholics in defense of the Inquisition, not realizing how wrong I was. And the so-called libertines, so there's much to be studied on that, but it can't be done in this catch-up video. Listen to the book of Revelation again and again. Studied what the sapper battalions were. The Caroline Affair. Hope you have your pens with you. Writing these down. Remember, World War II was just a joke to get the gold. studied the immortals. That got there by studying that Paul had witnessed, and everybody in the imperial guard who could have been, Persian immortals working with Rome at that time. That is still to be decided. Praetorian Guard, my, Flat Earth Nation, De Paterita, was a golden age past. Paterita combines, and the golden age was an age ruled by a wrought iron. Praetorian, from the root word Praetorian Guard. Just had it looked up. Now, Operation Safe Haven, there's a number of them. The one that I care about and want you to care about is Operation Safe Haven. It says an investigation into German assets in foreign countries after World War II. Ties into Operation Paperclip, ties into the United States and the other countries rushing to get all that gold, even the gold that they took from the teeth of their prisoners. It was a mad bank robbery. World War II. World War I. There's could be 800,000 people killed in one day. I think that's more than they killed in World War II. We developed the Summer of Love in the United States because of the Vietnam War, which was a total of 56,000 people killed. Still a shame, but nothing like the numbers. 50,000, 55,000 killed in the Korean War. 4,000 killed in Afghanistan and Iraq. Around 4,000 killed in the trade centers, we get outraged for death, but in World War I, they were taking 800,000 in some battles. It seems like we are the rest of the dead, and we're left with people's heads spinning, going like, that means there's a lot of gold just laying around in banks somewhere. And the mafia said, let's go get it. Operation Safe Haven. So that is going to have to be a show in itself when I try to prove that World War II was a bank robbery. A bank robbery. I'm going to be looking at Operation Bagration. That's how I pronounce it. I'm sure the Russians called it something else. But it's going to tie in that, started, right after the start of Operation Overlord, which was D-Day, the 6th of June, when they deployed 1 million people, and the United States deployed less than 2 million into France. And this, again, Soviet Union, why are they mad now? Maybe because they took most of the heat, did most of the work in World War II. Just absolutely crazy how the United States skated along in World War I and World War II compared to what other people did. It says nearly 160,000 troops crossed it. Going back to bag ration, we're looking at the Germans took 450,000 casualties because they were attacked by a million Russians. And the Russians were the ones who attacked Japan while we were so claiming to have saved the world by using atomic weapons at that same week when the Soviet Union was attacking China, attacking the Japanese in China. Operation Safe Haven, Operation Bag Ration, Operation Overlord. We'll have to go over them all again. Operation Dragoon, supposed to be executed with Operation Overlord, but they backed out. The Normandy landings, we'll get into a lot of details in that. Who were these people? Prisoners of war who were forced to fight for the Nazis that were defending Normandy, famously portrayed in Saving Private Ryan as the people not wearing German uniforms that came out of the big bunker that the Rangers attacked with Tom Hanks. Saying, we surrender, and then they got shot. And in subtitles, it wasn't German, it was a different language where they're saying, we had to do it, we're their prisoners. And there was only enough ammunition for them to kill the 3,000 that day, while the other beaches were basically walked into. I think it was all orchestrated as part of a bank robbery. The Fourth Reich. We'll get into what the Fourth Reich is and how that seems very plausible now with the rat lines, the mafias, how Lucky Luciano, changed sides and stopped the mafia, got involved in the governments and stopped the sabotage in New York. Operation Paperclip. Klaus Barbie, we'll be looking at him more in depth, but he was the butcher of Lyon, killing the French resistance, was a very, very bad man, but he died in prison at age 77 in 1991 after doing all of those terrible things. Well, how? Well, during the Second World War, when he was doing all these terrible things, he ended up doing intelligence work for the United States. Just more craziness in this world. Operation Condor, something made me look for that. So we'll be looking at Operation Condor. Operation Gladio, the stay behind operations of, basically MK Ultra people that stayed behind when, from NATO countries in the CIA in collaboration with Eastern European agencies. Armed groups engaged in attack on left-wing parties, all part of, to fight those communists. And do things like that. Operation Gladio. We'll be looking at that. Operation Intercept. More Bible verses. God, your God. I have so much coming on God in the New Testament. Let's see, let's get this Bible verse. You are God's. Acts 14, the gods have come down. They thought that Paul and Silas were like gods because they were ready to call one Mars and one Mercury. And you are not gods made by human hands. So did they have the same thing of where, it wasn't always just, a god was an idol, or did they think God could be living people? I'm going to be looking at this word. These are all Bible studies that will take more time and more of the Holy Spirit. Rephaim, the Saturn of later mythology, the god Remphan figures. But that is much more than an idol. You took up the tabernacle of Moloch and the star of your God. So we'll be looking hard at Acts 7:43. Looking back at Amos 5:26. Being honest with you, this was a couple of days ago, but the stars, they can be darkened. The stars can praise him. The stars all have names. There are stars that rule the night. The stars, not a planet. the moon and stars to rule the night. Moon and stars have been ordained. Moon and stars, the morning stars, can sing or shout. Not only do they shine, they do all of those other things. Stars. We'll be studying them and more. The highway, that narrow road, much more to this than meets the eye. A highway the stars are on a highway in Judges 5:20, used one time. From their courses, it's a highway. They're on a set analemma Mobius strip inside the torus that you are inside of, you battery operated torus connected with infinite Mobius strips. But they're on that highway. They're in their courses. More to come on that. Flame of fire. God's word is like a flame. What is a flame, really? In reality, we are the angels of the winds. The ministers of him are like a fire, a flame. Fire 4442, flame 5395. Of him, not theos, but we are the ministers. It is winds, the pneuma. And again, his angels, not stars, are indeed flames of fire. A lot to learn here in the Bible. 1 Peter 4. Got there by looking at what is the flesh that we shouldn't live in. Looks like. Paul had a thorn in his flesh that we all have to fight. That messenger and angel from Satan was given him. Paul had to be sifted as sand, given permission. We all have to fight those things and stay on the narrow road. Father, please help us. And he will. To liveth, your son lives. We will live in him. What is this word I was studying? Zal. I live. Man shall not live on bread alone. The Son of the living God, not of the dead, but of the living. I adhere you by the living God, that when he was still alive, this is a part, Matthew 27:63, when the Jews are saying, when Jesus was still alive, they called him the deceiver. They said, oh, they might snatch me away, set a guard. Looks like I was doing a little shopping on Amazon. Got some non-GMO things in my cart. And some silver-infused toothbrushes. Famine in Tartaria. Back to Tartary. Did you know in 1921, 1922, there was some revision history? So I'm on the edit page of when, they didn't even add this until the 2019, 2017, computers were talking to computers. Very few people were involved in this. Set it for deletion. Article does not mention the Holodomor in Ukraine of how when all of the people were killed, millions of them. A period of mass starvation took place in Tartar. Result of the Civil War, the Russian Civil War, in which it says 500,000 to 2 million peasants died. The Russian famine that year killed up to 5 million in 1 year. That's not people involved in the war. $5 million. In between the wars, it was a terror famine, a famine genocide in Tartaria. Holodomor lasted, this was the Great Famine. This one was from 32 to 33, killed millions of Ukrainians. It comes from a word, kill by starvation. Another 3 to 5 million. We're the rest of the dead somehow. And something bad's coming to the United States. Holodomor, 1933, right when they were stealing all the gold. What's this? Well, that's from a regime. Political regimes. People living underneath regimes today. Looks like everybody is. And when did it start? 1816. Who has all these broken down by years and the 7 resets from the 7 churches in Asia that all departed Paul? Do re mi. Holodomor. We'll get more into it when I get back live, Lord willing, here in a couple of days. Different famines from the Soviet Union. So it's not that Putin is the good guy. Plenty of famines. Deportation of the Crimean Tartars. We'll have to go over a lot of this again. What's this word? Revanchism. Means revenge. A lot of countries are out for revenge about what happened back then. And I think the best thing we can do is, take our swords and make plowshares and try to save one last generation. Because they've humiliated the Chinese people for over 200 years. And they're mad about it. And something's up. And something's going to be going on. And I know the Lord has called me to prepare and teach these lessons so that there will be people on a narrow road who realize it's time to leave the cities soon, because that's where everybody's going to die. There is a chance to live in peace for a short time until the computers stop working in 2038 and Jesus comes back in 2046 for Gog and Magog. That's what I'm going to be teaching here. On Mudflood was Armageddon. I hope you joined me, and I'll be back live going over some of these things and playing this video, the first of the banned videos made while I was banned for a week. First strike on Mudflood was Armageddon, and Mudflood was Armageddon. It's also a flat earth nation, and the golden age is past. You know, I'm never going to tell you anything else. Neither are my friends. Why would we? We're trying to prove we have your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho.